Hello fight fans, welcome back to What Culture Combat, and as always I am your trusty Gareth here, sat in my flat because yeah, we're all working from home right now to try and make sure we get all that UFC, boxing, MMA content out there for you guys to watch. All these news updates, all of our lists, all of my training videos. So we've just done our first training top 10 list, go on there recently as well, check that out. And we've also got our new sparkly trailer, which is on the channel as well. So please go and check that out as soon as you're done watching this news update for today. But without further ado, we have some news, we have some stuff that we need to talk about, and that is why I'm here. So first and foremost, we need to really get into this because this is Dana White talking about UFC 249. Obviously, it's a card that's a lot of people want to see it. A lot of people want to see Tony Ferguson taking on Khabib Nurmagomedov for the UFC lightweight championship. It's one of the most anticipated fights ever, really, in all of MMA, probably all of combat sports at this point. Everyone wants to see this fight, and obviously with the current global situation, it has been thrown into limbo, like many of the other cards have been over the last week or so. But now Dana White has come out and said, no, this fight is happening. He said this during an Instagram live chat. He said, this was when asked if he knows where the actual pay-per-view was going to be. He says, I do know, but I'm not ready to tell you yet. So there is going to be an event. He's not going to tell us where it is yet because I think he's probably just trying to finalize it just to make sure that event is actually happening, because if he came out and said, oh, it's going to be here, and then something else, like the situation is constantly changing. It has been changing day to day at this point. So the fact that we are going to get this fight, it's looking like we are going to get this fight, is awesome, because we need everything we can get at this point, and we need some distraction, and this is going to be one of the best fights in history. It's going to be quite awkward. Well, it's not going to be awkward. It's going to be quite specific, very unique experience to watch. But I'll go into that in a bit more detail, because Dana was speaking about what's going to happen in terms of getting everyone there, the logistics of getting people to where this event is going to be, which does suggest maybe it won't be in the States. He said, obviously, every time we put on an event, every weekend, there's all kinds of problems logistically, and tons of different things happen. We'll figure it out. That's what we do. That's the business we're in. We've been doing it for 20 years. We're the best at it. That fight will happen on that date, on pay-per-view, and the whole world will get to watch it. So that's, yeah, he's saying it's going to happen, and without a shadow of a doubt. Very similar to what you've seen with the WWE. They're having a lot of their events behind closed doors, but they're still showing them out on pay-per-view, showing them to the world, which, I mean, I'm speaking quite selfishly here, but as a fight fan, I'm just very excited that fight's going to happen. But I just want to make sure that everybody involved in that event is safe and they feel like they're in a situation where they feel comfortable being at the event. Dana went into that in a bit more detail as well. And he mentioned that everyone that's going to be involved in this thing is going to be involved because they want to be, not because they have to be or they have to do anything. There's not going to be any fans there. This is going to be a closed event. And believe me, we didn't just start thinking about safety when the global situation popped up, okay? Health and safety, these are things that normal businesses that are out there right now don't necessarily have to think of on a daily basis. Health and safety is something we've been doing long before the global situation, and we'll be doing it long after the global situation. So yeah, it'd be great to see this fight happen. Obviously, we all want to see this fight happen because it's one of the biggest fights ever, and it's got so many implications going forward as well at the end of it. If whoever wins that fight sets up the Conor clash later down the line, if that does happen this year now, there's a lot of things that come off the back of this card. And there's other fights as well on that card. I think Brett Okamoto mentioned when he asked Dana about if the fight card was actually going to be a full fight card, not just that top. There was some rumors going around that it was just going to be Khabib Tony and that was going to be the event. But Dana did confirm that in fact there would still be a full card, which is awesome as well. You've seen a lot of fighters there that are still going to get paid and still going to get their moment in the spotlight. It's just going to be in a very specific scenario, like UFC Brasilia was, which was all quite cool as well, because you could hear all the cornermen, which was quite surreal for a change. You could hear pretty much everything being said to each fighter, and every single hit as well was quite brutal. It really highlighted just how insanely vicious this sport really is when it gets going. Obviously, when you've got a crowd in there and the arena's filled out, you don't necessarily hear every single shot, but yeah, you could hear it all in Brasilia. So hopefully we see an epic clash when Khabib and Tony do come to blows, and yeah, I'll be tuning in, just like I'm sure you guys and gals will be, if it does in fact go ahead. Okay, so our second piece of news we're going to go into today is all around centering Paulo Costa, who's the UFC middleweight #1 contender right now for that championship, for Israel Adesanya's championship. You may know in 2019 that he was suspended for 6 months for his use of IV injection. This was, it was a prohibited use of it. I think the dosage wasn't within the legal USADA rights at this point. But now it's come out that the actual doctor who prescribed him, a Brazilian doctor who prescribed him that IV, has been suspended for 2 years. I'll just go into it in a bit more detail now with a quote. USADA made the announcement on Monday that Dr. Lucas Penchel of Belo Horizonte, Brazil, has accepted a 2-year sanction for a violation of the UFC anti-doping policy, resulting from his complicity in the administration and use of over-limit intravenous infusions of permitted substances on June 2nd, 2017 and November 3rd, 2017 by Carlos Costa and Paulo Costa, respectively. So that's Paulo Costa and his brother. So it appears that Costa actually took these injections, obviously we knew this at this point, he took these injections after the weigh-ins took place at UFC 212 in Brazil, and he did the same again after the weigh-ins at UFC 217 in New York, where he received an IV over the legal limit set within the UFC's anti-doping policies. So this doctor was the person who prescribed this. It was at that point, I think when Costa did get suspended, a lot of people were thinking, oh, he's just lying, the rest of it, he's just been a doper and whatever. Whereas now it looks like Costa was just following the advice of his doctor, who he thought was spot on, and his doctor has been suspended now, because whether he knew he was in the wrong or not, that's up for grabs as well, but he's now been the person who's pretty much taken most of the blame. We don't know necessarily if they both knew that this was right or wrong when they were doing it, but yeah, the legal implications are now in place, and yeah, that doctor won't be involved in any camps, I believe, now for the next 2 years, which is what it is. You can't go breaking USADA rules, because USADA are going to come down hard on you. That's the way it goes. Obviously, this won't affect Costa now going forward. He will obviously have that fight now against Israel Adesanya. And yeah, hopefully that fight happens in the near future, and hopefully it's just a whole lot better than what we got in that Romero clash, because that was heartbreaking. That really hurt my soul. Right, and we've got to our last piece of news today, our last more matchmaking orientated news, which is quite good. It's something to look forward to in times like this. We've had a bit of USADA drama. We've had, hopefully, a fight that's set to happen. One of the greatest fights in UFC history has to happen. And now we've got a fight that could very well be happening also this year. It's been, again, quite highly anticipated. It's Daniel Cormier taking on Stipe Miocic for the 3rd time. It is the rubber match. It is the ending, the finale of this epic rivalry, and Cormier has actually hinted that the bout could happen at UFC 252, and it's going to be beautiful in his own words. So obviously it's been discussed over the last few months that this fight could be happening very soon. Obviously Stipe's had his eye injury, Cormier's had his own injuries, so it's been quite up in the air. But he actually commented during a live Instagram session with current UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. He said, "Look, I know we're in a crazy time right now with the world and with the way things are, and it's very up in the air. But I think for me, with the way things are going and the discussions that we had heading into the fight, into all this, the way that the discussions in terms of the fight were going, where I'm going to fight this guy for my last fight, it's going to be as ideal for me as I could ever hope. It's going to be beautiful." And then he brought in the guy who was doing the interview with and turned to him a little bit and was like, well, this could be quite interesting. I'm not sure if I can let the scoop go, per se, but I'll just drop a few hints. This is what he said. He said, "I know people like getting scoops, and I think, if I'm guessing, I think the way things are falling, you and I," referring to Kamaru Usman, "may be spending more time together than most people believe. Obviously, we can't say a date and time yet, but it is looking like you and I shall and will be sharing a party, and I think that's going to be a good thing." So this is referring to Kamaru Usman taking on Jorge Masvidal potentially at UFC 252 at International Fight Week. And yeah, he was kind of hinting, being a bit like, well, we could be on the same card. Just imagine that card if you've got Kamaru Usman fighting Jorge Masvidal for the welterweight belt, and then in a co-main event. What fight goes on last there? Stipe and Cormier. Let me know in the comment section below. What fight would you put as the main event in that one? Which one goes as main? Which one goes as co-main? Might just have 2 cages at the same time, have them both fight at the same time. That's probably the best thing for everyone, really. I don't know how that would work. That seems like some kind of weird War Games like scenario. Probably best not to do that. But yeah, he also went on and started talking about his career after this fight, after this next fight. And he said, I've got 1 fight left. Some guy asked me today, he goes, you gonna keep fighting? I said, no. I said, I got 1 more fight. Because here's the deal, you fight these guys, they're 28, 27. I think Adesanya is very young. Some of these guys are very young. I don't have to fight a young guy. Miocic is about to be 38 years old. So I get to fight 1 more old guy, 1 more time. That's it. I am fighting no 27-year-old dude. I get his point. To be honest, he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's still one of the best to ever do it. There's no doubt about that. You've got to give the guys props. But in terms of the way, his career's unfolded at this point, he doesn't need to be taking on youngsters anymore and tarnishing his legacy, really, by getting beaten by a young whippersnapper, by getting beaten by somebody like Francis Ngannou or Yazin or Rosenstrike. You don't need that. So yeah, I think he makes a good point. They're going to make a lot of money. Hopefully it happens this year and we get to see that fight too, because UFC 252 could be incredible if that card does actually turn out to be like that. So that has been our news update for the day. Obviously, let me know about what you think of all these crazy stories that are happening in the world right now. Thank you very much for bearing with me in this very surreal scenario. Sat on my couch talking about MMA, but I hope it's been a bit of a nice escape for you. It's been a great escape for me, being able to talk about this stuff, because we've not had a lot of MMA news to dive into, obviously, with the sport being suspended for a while. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying these videos, obviously keep clicking on, keep subscribing, keep liking, sharing, all the rest of it. I love talking about this kind of stuff, and I hope you guys love watching it too. Hopefully I'll see you very, very soon. Please look after yourself wherever you are in the world, and yep, have an awesome day.